What do you know, if anything, about Shane Beamer? Again, you mentioned Frank Beamer was at Vatech and I guess was recruiting you while, when you were in high school. But what you know about Shane Beamer, if anything, if you've ever maybe brushed shoulders with him or anything like that, and also what you're just expecting from the Shane Beamer era. How excited are you for this 2021 season and beyond under his leadership?
Yeah, definitely excited for the season. Like I said, just how to see how this is going to pan out for them, because it is a little bit different tweak on what you would expect. Because mostly when coaches come in, it's fire and brimstone. We're running you off and trying to get my guys up in here. Obviously, there was ample opportunities for guys to transfer, and like you said, on the backs of a wild season with COVID, but then with the rules changing, NIL, players coming in, transfer portal opening up, also there was ample opportunity for guys to move around, and I think about guys like the Carry-On Joiner and different things like that. Shane was able to come in here and obviously preach the message that he wanted to preach of, relationships, trust, care, commitment, love, loyalty, all these different things. Mm-hmm. One of the guys that he hired was my former strength coach from the Cincinnati Bengals, was Chip Morton. And Chip is one of those guys who is a mentor to Coach Day, the head strength coach here at South Carolina, and just hearing a lot about him and hearing how they've been doing the workouts, a lot of like partner workouts. When I say partner workouts, is like, I got to carry you for 100 yards, you got to carry me for 100 yards. I got to barrel roll with you for 50, you barrel roll with me for 50. And then afterwards, after all the hard, we have a conversation about the why behind it. And I think that's a really important thing right now, because I hate to sound like this old dude, but I came from the old era. Coach is like, get on the line, we running 15 of them. Somebody says, why? We running 20 of them. I don't give a damn about your why. This is just what we got to do. And then, so you just like, man, I'm just angry, you know what I'm saying? And so I think how guys are changing and how the dynamics of players and different things are changing, the coaches have done a really good job of figuring out a way to keep the football hard, but also to love you as hard as hell too. And sometimes loving you hard as hell is telling you this ain't good enough, homie. What you doing ain't good enough. You wrong. And that was the way we did those same things at South Carolina when Lou Holtz was there, but we kind of went about it in a different way. And then we call this accountability. We call this building culture, no different within your family. So I think for sure with Coach Beamer that he will put the right things in place. But like I said, it has to, because we're about results now. Hopefully it wins fast enough, or the product shows and the players buy in, which I think they will, which I think they are, and it'll show itself on the football field, that there's enough time for this to reap itself with football wins. Now, you understand Coach Beamer's dad's kind of trajectory of how it happened. He had a lot of time before he actually started winning up there at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. But I think about when I was getting recruited by him, other former South Carolina guys, Ricky Bustle, Somerville dudes, who was the offensive coordinator for Vic. That's the good thing about having Shane Beamer here. One, he's grew up, born in Charleston, he always touts that, but he's not unfamiliar with the South Carolina area, because South Carolina is a unique place. So my point is, Shane's been around a bunch of different eclectic places, Georgia, blah, 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 Starksville, had a bunch of different mentors. He's a coach's son, he's a walk-on, and, you could be saying, well, that's kind of like what Coach Muschamp was, but I say it's a different iteration because it wasn't as easy for Shane, and it wasn't certain things he was the long snapper, and if you know anything about being a walk-on long snapper, and being on the team, especially that 1999 team with, a bunch of wild dudes on that Virginia Tech team, just look at the defensive end coordinator, all these different dudes. You had to put up with a lot of stuff. And so Shane understands that. So he has that good mix of, kind of like the Dabo story where he's a walk-on, but everything hasn't been given to him, but he has the privy of being a coach's son and understanding the demands of that. So I'm saying all that to say, hopefully all this comes together for him and the players buy in, because we have everything we need. We got the facilities, we got the people, we got all those things. The biggest thing is everybody trusting and buying into the message and saying, if I need you to do this, this is what has to be done to the T. And there's a reason behind that. So that's really tough. There was an opportunity for Coach Beamer to maybe run these guys off, and not to say guys are naturally going to just run themselves off, but I think that he did a really good job of inviting and finding and taking advantage of the transfer portal to get guys in here who are Carolina guys, not just a bunch of ragtag guys who want to come in here and play for one season and leave this place burning when they're done with it. We don't ever hear from them again, because that's a fine balance too. So my point being is I think Shane is on the right track. He's done a good job of getting a young staff in here mixed with some older guys. That's one thing I thought Coach Muschamp could have maybe done a little bit better on, is maybe leaning on, elder statesmen, elder coaches. Maybe he was doing those things privately, but if you've seen anything, and from Nick Saban to Oregon to any of these, I mean, hell, you go look at North Carolina, you can't have enough brilliant minds around you in the room, not just in like offensive play calling, but like in all things, facilities, recruiting, all of those things. And the kind of the knock what they were trying to say about Shane, he was a kind of a jack of all trades because he was only been like special teams tight ends guy, but he's been put in a situation for him to be a managerial guy, unlike Muschamp, where that was the biggest question. Can he be that CEO type and relinquish some of the control? And I can tell you, it's tough being, because all coaches are control freaks. I think ultimately that was Coach Holtz's one of the biggest failures towards the back end, is that, year 4, year 5 of Lou Holtz, he's tightening down as opposed to trusting and allowing more. And Bobby Bowden figured that out later in his career. He's like, I'm gonna let these young assistants yell until they're blue in the face. And I'm just gonna be the one come in behind them and be the CEO and be like, yo, don't do that anymore. You're gonna make this guy go crazy. So I think we got our guy here. The biggest thing, it can't happen fast enough, but my fingers are crossed that it does happen. The players will stay healthy. And that's the biggest thing. If everybody stays healthy and we can start with the same guys that we started with on the roster at the last game, we'll see what happens. And with that, I think our best is good enough to go out there and at least give ourselves a chance to win 5 to 6 games this year. For sure.
Patience in the Shane Beamer era. That's something I talked with many people about, Langston. I'm sure you would agree, is that I'm excited too, from the perspective of, selfishly from the business side, but also the fan side in regards of growing with Shane Beamer. I think Shane Beamer's first time head coach, I mean, it's going to be year 5 and Shane's going to look back and be like, man, I'm so much better of a head coach now than I was. It's just like anything else in life, just the evolution of being a human being and learning as you go, and you make mistakes and you learn your own style. And, people are asking me like, hey man, you think Shane Beamer's going to be more aggressive on 4th down? Is he going to kick? I'm like, we don't know. Nobody knows what he's going to be like. He's never done it. He doesn't even know. Right. It only happens when you get in the line of fire and you get in that situation. Hey, it's 4th and 2 against Georgia in the 4th quarter. And, we're down 4. Like, what does he do? Does he kick a field goal? It's like, you don't know, right? You don't really know.
And that's why that character thing really matters, because everybody who's on the sideline with you, when you make that decision, it got to be, all right, we rocking with you. Let's go. And it can't just be, the running game coach over there going,
oh God, what is coach thinking? Yeah.
Because if we know anything, young kids pick up on all of this stuff. They're always watching what we do, not what we say. Yeah. And so that's the biggest thing when I think about Bobby Bowden and how he was able to flourish and take a school that was a teaching school up into this powerhouse, is that he injected his character. He obviously injected a whole bunch of talent. Geography helped them a good bit, but they were who they were, and they leaned into that identity. Same way with Clemson, same way with Alabama, the iteration of this Alabama and previous Alabama. So like you said, for us to kind of grow together as a fan base is going to be really fun. Again, hopefully the wins and the memorable games come how we see them there. Because again, this could be the building of something special where we look back and be like, damn, Shane Beamer's been here 10 years. And look at how it's just been this progression of him just getting better, not as a person, but also as a coach and calling and winning these games.